A single narrowband spike hit the Arecibo SETI pipeline and was logged 3 separate times before anyone realized the sky was not repeating itself. On the waterfall display, a bright green line shot upward at the hydrogen water hole frequency. Clean edge, no spread, no natural noise pattern. The system at Arecibo Observatory flagged it immediately under automated SETI classification. SHG B02 plus 14A entered the database as a candidate extraterrestrial transmission in 2003. Within minutes, the observatory logs show something unexpected. The same green spike appears again during the next scan window. Then again. Each time slightly shifted across the frequency band. Each entry stored as a separate detection event. The visual anchor formed instantly in control rooms. A single green spike sliding across a black waterfall background. It looks stable when frozen on screen, but it is not stable. It is moving, and every time the telescope resets its observation sweep, the spike reappears as if it is new. 3 independent signals, 3 entries, 1 sky position, no continuous track. Operators did not see contradiction yet. They saw repetition, and repetition meant confirmation. But that was the first mistake. Because the spike was never repeating, it was drifting. The Earth's rotation was dragging the telescope's view across the sky, and the signal was slipping through that moving window like a fracture in time. The visual anchor returns again on archival playback. Green spike, same brightness, same narrowband shape, but now it appears in a slightly different position on the frequency axis. Each return is logged as a new candidate. Each candidate strengthens the illusion that something is transmitting repeatedly from deep space. Then the system begins to change meaning without changing data. The same observation, now interpreted differently. Instead of 3 signals, there is 1 signal crossing the observation window multiple times. The visual anchor appears again, but now analysts begin to see motion instead of repetition. The green spike is no longer evidence of 3 transmissions. It is evidence of 1 drifting source cutting through Earth's rotating detection slice. Arecibo's pipeline does not track continuous sky emission. It samples slices, and slices create fragments. The visual anchor returns again, now slowed in reanalysis playback. The spike slides diagonally across the waterfall display, not jumping, not repeating, moving, and each time the scan window resets, it captures a different segment of the same motion. The system did not detect 3 signals. It captured 3 moments of 1 signal passing through a blind timing structure. But that explanation does not stabilize the situation. It destabilizes it further. Because the drift rate does not behave cleanly, the signal shifts frequency faster than expected for known astrophysical motion. It accelerates across the band in a way that should not align with standard rotational or orbital mechanics. The visual anchor appears again, but now it carries tension. The green spike is no longer just drifting. It is slipping faster than the model can comfortably explain. Arecibo systems attempt to reconcile it. Doppler corrections are applied. Rotation compensation is tested. Sky coordinate reprocessing begins. But each correction produces a new mismatch. The spike does not settle into a single clean trajectory. It fractures across recalculated frames. And each fracture creates another false identity in the database. Multiple entries, 1 source. Still not recognized as a single continuous event. The visual anchor returns again during recalibrated analysis. Now the spike appears thinner, sharper, almost cleaner. But that is not improvement. That is segmentation. The more the system tries to isolate it, the more it divides the signal into independent detections. At this point, the observation is no longer just a detection problem. It becomes a structural dependency problem. The system depends on Earth's rotation to define observation windows. Those windows are now manufacturing multiplicity. The same signal is being sliced into separate identities simply because the telescope cannot hold the sky still. Then the midpoint shift arrives. The signal is not the anomaly anymore. The observation system is... New crosschecks expand the scope beyond Arecibo. SETI archival comparisons show similar narrowband fragments in other sky surveys. Different telescopes. Different times. Same pattern of fragmentation near waterhole frequencies. The visual anchor is no longer isolated to one observatory screen. It becomes a repeated artifact across systems that assume time continuity in observation. The green spike returns again, now reconstructed across datasets. It appears unified for the first time only when timing offsets are removed. When Earth rotation is mathematically flattened, the three detections collapse into one continuous trace, a single drifting emission that was never meant to be seen in fragments. But the cost of that correction is immediate. Every prior candidate signal entry tied to SHGB02 plus 14A becomes unreliable as independent evidence. The database structure itself is exposed as geometry dependent, not source dependent. The visual anchor returns again, now in reconstructed form. One spike, one continuous slope, no repetition, just drift across a unified timeline. But in original archived views, the same signal still exists as three separate alien candidates. Two realities preserved in the same system. One caused by the sky. One caused by observation timing. The final movement is not discovery. It is correction collapse. The system cannot preserve both interpretations without contradiction. Either the signal is multiple transmissions, or it is one drifting event. The visual anchor appears for the final time on original Arecibo logs. Three green spikes still sitting in the database, each labeled as independent detections. Then it appears again in corrected reconstructions. One spike, continuous motion, no repetition. The consequence lands quietly but permanently. SETI's confidence in repeated detection as confirmation breaks. Repetition is no longer proof of multiple sources. It becomes evidence of observation geometry. The green spike does not change. The meaning does. And every archived detection suddenly feels less like a discovery and more like a timing illusion carved into data. One signal, three sightings, one blind window, same sky, different truth. It was never repeating. It was passing through.